Hello everyone and welcome back to Through Africa. We are joining you again live from our studios here in Ankara, Turkey, to talk about the African diaspora and their role in strengthening the Turkey-African relations. It is still me, your host, Mercy Bamgbola, and today's topic would be one that we'll be dissecting. And to talk more about this topic, I'll be speaking with Faroukou Mintoiba, who is the General Coordinator at BIZIM Africa. Hello, Mr. Farouk.
Hi, Miss Mercy.
And you're welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much. I'm conveying you my greetings to you and the production team, and I'm thanking you for having me today to this program.
You're welcome. Now, I'd like us to go directly into, the discussion. In the recent years, the global community, especially countries of the world, especially Turkey, they've taken a lot of interest in the African community and in the African continent. What do you think about this?
Okay, thank you. But if we have to actually address the question through the perspective of the global community, what we can say is that this has been actually an issue that has been an interest that has been ongoing since the independence of the African countries. Because, of course, after the independence of countries, the world powers thought that it was actually something good, to seek for ways to collaborate and cooperate with African countries. But at that time, since it was as soon as the colonization process of African countries, it was so normal to seek some kind of partnership that actually rely on the fact of colonization. So what I mean by that is that, for example, if you look at Francophone countries, they were actually having some partners. Most of their partners were in the Western world. You take France, the USA, the UK, and those kind of countries. So from the post-independence period till the 2000s, the partnership between African countries and the world global powers was mainly with those partners. But after on, till the years 2000s, we've kind of observed a shift in the way Africans actually develop his partnership, because after almost 50 years of independence and partnership with those traditional partners, most of the African countries realized that this partnership was not a kind of partnership that actually benefit them, which is why they shift their eyes into alternative partners. And this is exactly where, alternative partners such as Turkey, Russia, and China actually came up. So, in fact, I can say that this interest developed by Turkey in the recent years toward Africa is actually proportionated to the interest that the African countries actually express to alternative partners, which, as I said, we have Turkey, Russia, and China. And of course, unlike traditional players, as I said, the United Kingdom, France, and America, Turkey is trying to build a partnership or a relationship that is actually rooted in shared interests, where both partners actually gain in whatever they are doing, which is why we might have heard about initiative like the Turkey-Africa partnership, which is being held, I think, almost every 2 years, and where African leaders come together with their Turkish counterpart in order to discuss about issues that are actually linking or related to infrastructure, education, and trade, so that they see in those areas how can they develop mutual projects that can benefit both parties.
All right, definitely the relationship between, the African countries and Turkey itself is growing. Day by day, we see new initiatives coming up. So what specific sectors do you believe that the African diaspora can influence to enhance this relationship that's already established?
Yeah, okay. So when we actually think about, interstate relationship, we think it as we actually usually see it in traditional form, which actually requires that in international relations, the main actor should be country and country. So when we take the relation between, let's say, Nigeria and Turkey, for example, we know that the formal and the main actors here are the Nigerian state and the Turkey state. But of course, with time, that was actually the traditional conception of, as I said, international relations. But with time, we actually realized that in trying to develop relations between countries, it's not only traditional actors that can play a role. We also have some third-party actors that can be so considerable in developing the relationship between countries, which is why, some individual players such as the Diaspora, international organization, and even NGOs has actually come out to say that, instead of always trying to rely on state in order to develop their relations between, their counterparties, some other actors can also play a role, because we know that, of course, no matter how powerful the state is, the state will never be enough sufficient to itself in order to develop any kind of all the aspect of the relationship that he's trying to have with his other counterpart. Which is why, of course, now when we're talking about the African diaspora today, we understand that it plays actually an important role in the way that African countries are developing their relationship with the other countries. And when we take the case of the Turkish diaspora, in the African diaspora in Turkey, for instance, we know that they can play a critical role in sectors like trade, education, and cultural diplomacy, because you might have been in Istanbul and you've seen all those people who are just going around trying to do some business or any kind of trade, that they can, by sending some goods and some groceries from here to their different countries. And it's in the same way that, they also try to import some goods from their respective countries to Turkey in order to sell it. And apart from that, we also have some Turkish businessmen which actually try to, import their businesses in some African countries. And apart from that, you also know that, of course, when we're talking about the African diaspora in Turkey, most of them are actually students. And when they come here, it's because they actually found that, or they think that Turkey has something to offer them in terms of education, which is why they spend their time here studying. And when they finish, of course, they return back to their countries in order to serve as, to serve as let's say ambassadors, of Turkey, and in such a way they try to do whatever they can do in order to give their contribution to the development of the relations between Turkey and Africa. So it's so important to support those people in the particular sectors that they are. So as I said, in trade, education, and cultural diplomacy, so that any and endeavor that they will take will actually contribute to effectively reach the goal of contributing to support the effort of developing relations between Turkey and their respective countries.
All right there, Farouk, that was a great one. You mentioned specifically 3 sectors: the trade, education, and cultural diplomacy. And I think these are, points that need to be really reached, especially education. Students come here, they study, they gain the experience from here while also understanding their culture back home. So that's a good one. Now, let's talk about the challenges faced by the African diaspora. What challenges does the African diaspora face in serving as a bridge between Turkey and Africa?
Well, if we talk about the challenge that this particular, people or this category of people are actually challenging, of course, we might start enumerating this and not finish, because of course we understand that there is a lot of challenge that they are going through. But of course, some of the main challenge that we can actually elaborate could be the limited visibility, okay, and the representation in key decision making space that those people they are having. Because of course, as I said, most of them they come here. When they come here, it's either like doing business or for studying. But yet we sometimes realize that when they are here, they are just like here on their own. They are here on their own. When they have a problem or some issues that actually need to be tackled by their government, most of the time, we actually have some diplomatic representatives, the consulates and the embassies. But what we realize is that most of the time, those entities does not actually effectively engage in providing some solutions, okay, to the problem that their citizens are actually facing. So this is actually some of the challenge that they are facing. And of course, when I was talking about the businessmen, you got to understand that when we're talking about those persons particularly, most of the time, we can even say that 900 of those persons, when they first come in Turkey, do not speak Turkish. So the language barriers, the cultural misunderstanding, and occasional discrimination. I said occasional discrimination can also hinder effective integration and their contributions to, as I said, the development of the relation between Turkey and Africa. Additionally, we also have sometimes a lack of structured platform for the diaspora to organize and amplify their voice and effort to promote bilateral relations, which is why, okay, you might probably know that we've been working on the African Diaspora Forum. So we at that time realized that the African diaspora in Turkey was actually lacking kind of institutional framework, okay, where they come together to discuss their issues, which is why we actually offered them Visim Africa, so that we serve as a voice for those people who are in Turkey, those African people who are in Turkey. So roughly speaking, that's what we can say about the challenge that the African diaspora is facing in Turkey.
Oh, great. Thank you. So I'm glad you mentioned ADF, the Diaspora Forum. So the next question I was also going to ask, we've talked about the challenges. Now let's talk about the success. What are some of the success stories, with diaspora-led initiatives in strengthening this relationship that we're talking about? The ones you have seen personally and the ones you've, maybe probably read about or heard someone talk about.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, actually. But yeah, it's kind of tricky. It's not just because I'm working in a project that I would suppose that is successful, okay, which is why I would prefer not to talk about it. But of course, overall, when we look around, we, of course, see that there are actually examples of, African diaspora initiatives that are actually been undertaken and is going quite successfully, because I've been seeing people organizing some bilateral meetings, okay, with through which they're actually bringing together the Turkish businessman and the African businessman of different countries. And when they come together to such occasions, they actually concerned about how, okay, the Turkish people can either transfer their business in Africa or either way. So these are actually, I've seen a lot of initiatives. Some platforms, some conferences, some forums actually built particularly on this kind of, for this kind of purpose, because they think that, of course, if we, let's say, African people are not actually starting initiative, that's what I was saying. The government cannot do everything on its own, which is why sometimes we need the role of the civil society in such sectors in order to support, of course, the dynamic of, sustaining relations between countries. So now that I'm talking to you about those platforms, those initiatives that have been created in order to facilitate the transfer of, let's say, technology or any other thing in terms of business, is actually something that I really appreciate. And I've been seeing that those kind of initiatives are actually being increased day by day, which is something good. So I think that we should continue in such a dynamic where it's actually African that start some initiative, because they think that, okay, well, if we've seen something in Turkey that we want to take it to our home, it actually starts by we saying that, by we expressing our interest. They are visiting Turkish companies. They are visiting, manufacturers, okay, that actually work in some sectors. And later on, when they finish, they said, okay, well, I know somebody in, let's say, Togo or in Ghana who actually operate in this business. And I know that, well, if they come here in Turkey, they will be able to learn what you're doing in order to bring this knowledge to Turkey. This is one thing. And the second thing is, of course, some people who actually, I was talking about cultural diplomacy as well. You've seen some people engage in promoting the culture of Africa to the point that they become successful, and it might be through comedy or it might be through singing. I've seen a lot of people, just accomplishing a lot of great work. And I think that, as I said, once again, those initiatives are actually the kind of initiative that might be supported. And now, okay, the last thing that I would like to mention is, the role of civil society. I mean, in its literal term, you've seen people creating some associations and some platform that actually support, the integration of the African people in the Turkish community. So these are also things that are to be encouraged. And yeah, at BIZIM Africa, that's what we've been doing. And we think that, of course, similar platform, similar initiative can also be so interesting in actually trying to foster the image of, to foster the way Africa is viewed in Turkey. So, like, roughly speaking, that's what I can say about that.
All right, thank you very much, Farouk. You've talked about the last question that I was going to ask, the things that can be done. You've talked about fostering this relationship, doing things by ourselves as Africans and not waiting for others to do them for us. So thank you very much for coming on the show. I want to say a very big thank you on behalf of the AFROTURK TV and on behalf of BIZIM Africa too. I want to say a very big thank you. And thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge with us on the show today.
Thank you again for having me here, and I'm thanking your production team as well. So if there is one last thing that I would like to add is, of course, obviously, to actually encourage people to align themselves in the vision that in the vision that the partners themselves, Turkey and its respective African partners, they've actually set a plan and said, okay, well, in our understanding of partnership, that the way we will go, and as I said, it is mainly based on a dynamic that whatever we'll be doing will be for the mutual interest of our actors, which is why, unlike traditional donors recipient, evolving into a partnership of equal where both regions benefit from shared opportunity. The Turkey has been engaged in a dynamic where he actually took the responsibility to do whatever he can do in order to make its relationship with Africa perceived as, of mutual benefit. So the African diaspora is actually central to achieving this vision. As I was saying, they are cultural ambassadors, economic connectors, and advocates for mutual understanding. And empowering this diaspora with tools and platforms to lead initiative will actually ensure that we smoothly go through this process. And it's only by this that we can be happy, or we can be proud to see the way the Turkey-Africa relationship have evolved in 5 years, 10 years, because as you came here for studies, and I know that there is countless of persons who also came here for studies. If we do not play this role, is there anyone who will come from anywhere else and come to play this role for us? I doubt. But for us to be able to do that, as I said, we need to be supported, and this support should come either from mainly our African, authorities, and subsidiary from the Turkish community. So I really call for the support of the African diaspora initiative here in Turkey, and I hope that with that we're gonna be great and well placed to actually represent Turkey in Africa and represent Africa in Turkey. So thank you so much for having me again. I hope you have a good day.
Thank you very much for your final words, Farouk. That was a good one, and thank you again for your time and for sharing your contributions with us.
You're welcome. Thank you, and have a good day. See you next.
Have a great day. And with that, we've come to the end of our live show for today on Through Africa. It is still me, your host, Mercy Bamgbola. Now, to send us your questions and contributions, you can do so on our WhatsApp number, which is always on the screen, and we would like to hear from you. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, stay safe and goodbye.